I'm Bill.
And I'm Candace. And we're the Disruptors. Welcome to the show, Bill.
Oh, it's great to be here, of course. It's a beautiful afternoon. I'm stuck in a cave with you talking about whatever. It's always exciting.
Come on now. We've got chickens roaming. We've got eggs being laid. We've got our producer, Patty Pug, snoring. Life is good.
Yeah, life is top-notch here at the farm. That's for sure. What kind of conversation do we want to start today?
Well, I think that one of the things that I was on my mind anyway, or on my heart to talk about, were ethics.
Ethics.
And I think in business, that is a hot subject that either A, people want to talk about it, or B, they want to sweep stuff underneath the rug. And it depends on which way the wind blows.
Well, that's very true. Or which way the dollar goes.
Well, let's take a look at, as a company, what you say and what level of customer service, what your declarations are. We believe in our customers. Our customers are number one. Okay. So we want good service. Wonderful. We want to present good service, good products.
Oh, of course.
So what happens, though, when you have a company that does bait and switch?
Well, there again, it's losing a lot of, when we bait and switch, we're actually destroying the honesty, integrity, and everything else by lying to the customer.
Well, for our listeners who don't know what bait and switch is.
Oh, that's a very good point.
So let's talk about, you sign a contract, car lot.
Car lot
dealership,
contract.
Okay. And you've been okayed for whatever the percentage is.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's just throw it out there, 10%.
10%. Okay. We're going to get that deal for you for 10%.
For 10% interest. Okay. Right. And then what happens is you drive the car for the weekend. Mind you, we'll just take it on a Friday afternoon. You drive up to Whidbey Island. You cruise up to Bellingham. You go on a road trip. I don't know. And then you come back, and Monday morning you got a phone call that the interest rate needs to be 22%.
Increased. Of course. After you've already taken the car out, enjoy the car, getting the shock of buying the automobile out of your system, figuring out this is the car for me, and then, but no, we're going to have to switch that interest rate because the bank decided that you just don't pencil out correctly.
So what do you do, Bill?
I don't know now. That's a good question. What do you do? Some cases, I know of some people that just went right back to the lot, handed them the key, and said, congratulations. As long as it's not a repossessment, you can, when they ask you to re-sign a paper or contract agreement to increase that interest, you can voluntarily put the car back in their hands, get a release from them, and it does not show up on your credit as a repossessment. And you can wave goodbye at them.
Well, that's what I would do.
Well, it's very true. And it also, however, comes back to exactly what you were talking about in ethics. When you're sitting down with a car lot or anybody on a contract basis and they promise you these are the things that we are going to provide for you, and this is how the program's going, and this is what you're going to pay, sign here and make sure you press hard because the carbon sometimes doesn't get your signature on the bottom. To me, it's cut and dried. It's done. Now it's the obligation of the company to fulfill what they put in writing.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. In the state of Washington, you have a clause. When you sign a contract, you have 72 hours, and that's under buyer's remorse. And so you can tear up that contract in 72 hours. So that's something that individuals might want to consider. I know that when we sign contracts for our business, we wait 72 hours before we move forward. So then that way we haven't established everything, given intellectual property away that we'll never retrieve for nothing, right?
Very true.
So we wait
true.
72 hours. And, I think that's...
Well, that's actually a fair point because then they can evaluate what they bought. They can understand the contract. They can go back over it in their minds. Well, is this going to fit for me? Is this car going to be mine or in work? Or is this construction on my home what I want? Or am I... Maybe I should price shop a little bit more. So that 72 hours actually gives a fair shot for the customer and the person who is doing the work to, come up with a good agreement.
Well, and I think that's reasonable. But for someone to come back and say, hey, wait a minute, we want to gouge you for twice or, another 75% more on interest, that goes cha-ching and that's painful and it hurts. There's a lot of issues that really boil down into ethics nowadays that we might not frame them in as ethics, but they are. I want to bring up a couple of cases. Well, if we have time in the show.
Sure.
For sure, the first one that's fresh on my mind is the whole thing with Good Samaritan Hospital.
Oh, what a mess.
Well, since it's public and, they've already got their first lawsuit signed, for the listeners that are not aware, Good Samaritan Hospital in Puyallup, Washington is under, really, in a sense, wink, wink, under siege because of the fact that administratively they made some decisions, had a nurse that had hepatitis C. I don't know if they knew that she had hepatitis C, but from the writings, it sounds like they knew something because she'd been working there for a year. I don't know what they knew and what they didn't know.
Well, it's strange how they got her to the position of working to begin with. I thought in the any type of medical professional has to go through testing of health before they're allowed to work with others in the health field. I know when you go into a men's restroom, it says all employees must wash their hands before going out or they're going to get fired. It seems to me the Good Sam Hospital might be checking to see if you have a disease before you're hired.
Well, she is behind bars at this very moment, but I believe they're arraigning her.
Monday morning.
She was arrested at the Canadian border. She was running. And of course, she didn't get out of the United States. So in a way, I guess that's a blessing.
Well, that's a plus.
But here comes the real question, ethically. What responsibility does the hospital have? And what are they? My concern is always, what are they watering down? They have shareholders. They have an accountability. They have accountability to the industry for a protocol standard. What protocols weren't being followed?
And why? And how, if this individual supposedly with this disease, and remember now, she's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, but how did she infect?
But she has already
people?
confessed that she is a drug addict and that she did steal drugs.
That's true.
Okay, so that we have established.
We've established that.
Because that's what our attorney has said.
He stood right out there in television, yes, in front of Good Sam Hospital with his, I would say, 1929 tie. No, and said, quote, hey, she is an addict. If she is absolutely guilty of anything else, she's guilty of stealing drugs, which actually opens up another door at Good Sam with cameras, with all the paperwork and everything that has to do with these drugs and dispensary paperwork and logins and documents. How in the world in a year did she figure out to remove all this stuff that obviously walked out the door that nobody until March discovered, or when she was terminated, was being stolen?
I'm curious about this. Who was charged for those drugs? Because at some point there was a barcode scanned so that she could get in, otherwise they would know. So now we're double dipping insurance agencies, but this is just outsiders looking in, right?
Right. We don't have any of the real solid facts because we weren't there. But we do have the facts that the media has put out on to the media, and from the COO of Good Sam, who made the bold statements of our excellence and our policies and everything that we've done. Yes, we're at fault because, but then he never goes into the because. He kind of rounds that out to, we're going to handle this for you folks. We're going to make sure that if you are infected, at that time there was only 2,600 people involved. Now I understand we're pushing 4,000 now. However, we're going to handle it. We're going to take care of all your medical. Don't worry about that. Just because you came down with this horrible disease and you're mentally trying to figure out if I've got it or not, look at all those people that are still sitting waiting for letters.
Well, you've got almost 4,000 people
sitting there waiting.
The first lawsuit's been filed now. And so people will be watching it, very closely. And as a corporation, which is, in a sense, no different than a small business, what ethical decisions will you do the right thing? And, I mean, there's a big difference. We have insurance. They've got insurance. Okay, small business has got insurance.
I'm sure they do.
And then will you do the right ethical thing? Or will you still try to spin it to make a buck, to do damage control? Or will you actually be transparent? Because, that's a buzzword. Transparency. when in actuality, there's not a lot of transparency, and we're trying to save our own bacon.
And that's exactly what they're trying to do. It's obvious. They've got investors. They've got a lot of dollar flow tied up into this. And if it gets to be a black mark, and it is a black eye on Good Sam, there's no doubt about it.
Well, I think this one's going to last a long time. This one isn't going to be healed overnight.
I don't care how many attorneys they have and how many hours they hide in a boardroom trying to put the fires out. I agree with you. This is not going to be a quick fix and everybody's going to smile the next morning and everything's over. It's done.
So see, I kind of still look at it as bait and switch, right? I went into emergency. I would presume, I don't know what the numbers are because that's not my industry, but, I think the numbers might be smaller, that those are just, I don't know, stopping by, doing a drive-through at the emergency.
Yeah.
Most people go in because they're not okay. They're in a critical state of something, right?
Major pain, and they have to get it taken care of.
And then, of course, how do you treat those individuals? Which leads me to another question: ethics versus morality.
True.
And, here's a moral question and an ethical question that's sitting here in Seattle. The head tax. Is it a business's responsibility to take care of homelessness?
Good question. And I think the people in Seattle and a lot of the businesses in Seattle are saying no, it is not. They should not be taxed to take care of this problem. They should not have independent businesses stepping in where the states and the counties and the funding from pothole repair or whatever. Oh, wait, folks. Wait, I forgot. We have recreational drug taxes. Oh, my goodness. We should be able to put Taj Mahals for all these people all over the state with the amount of revenue that's coming in off of that alone.
Well, I think these are big issues that are facing our businesses today. And I don't care what size of business, if you put another... even though, what is it, 26 cents on the dollar?
28 cents on the dollar.
28 cents a dollar.
28 cents.
So you add that up on the dollar, we've already okayed for the most part, for argument's sake, okay, we'll just round up for $15 an hour. What most individuals don't understand, that, yeah, we would all like more money in our paycheck, right? But the bottom line is that here in the state of Washington, you're paying $12 an hour just in taxes on top of. So a $15 employee is actually $27 an hour.
That's correct.
Right? So at $27 an hour...
they're going to have to really produce.
Add that up at 28 cents on the dollar. How much more is that company already now having to spend?
Which means it's going to put them out of the competitive marketplace. They're going to have to increase their prices. People are going to start saying, hey, I'm not Seattle. Heck, we can't buy pop in Seattle without a tax. It'll kill you. So I'll just drive over to Pierce County.
Well, I'm just kind of wondering what actually is their whole entire, what would be the advantage for the city council to go ahead and okay this and get this in? Is it to sweep across the rest of the state? These are,
we all know, Candace, that whatever Seattle wants, they get, and whatever their effects are, it affects all of us. In a pocketbook or somewhere, we get it in the end. So I think this is probably a case study of how to solve the homeless, build more of these communities like in Federal Way, and I'm not going to name the organization, but in Federal Way, which now, are these communities going to work, first of all? Second of all, who's going to pay to manage these communities? How is the federal government going to work in this program? How's the state revenues going to come in? And is it going to be the answer to the question of homelessness?
Well, I don't think it's going to be the answer. So I think everybody has skin in the game. And what I don't understand in that is, even in a socialistic society, which we're not, that wasn't how we were framed. And I'm not going to jump up on different political bandwagons here, but socialism works because everybody, and I want to say this, everybody has a job to do, and you do that job. So if, I don't care whatever your age is, it's not